Demko had it, lost it. Keller picks it up. Keller moving. Blue paint chance. Scores! Clayton Keller! Yeah, Utah won. But there was a very clear had it, lost it narrative that you could present in this game. Not only did the Vancouver Canucks lose their first game in a while after having a multi-goal lead, but there also was that entire come-from-behind defeat angle at the hands of the Utah Hockey Club. This game ends with a score of 3-2 Utah. Overtime victory in the final 11 seconds of the extra frame. And honestly, if you had asked me about this holistic product we had seen from Vancouver, I'd say that tonight's game wasn't really all too great. I think, quite frankly, the Canucks were a little bit lucky to be up 2-0 in this game. And if you had to ask me who played better in the first period especially, for a good chunk of the second, and then for parts of the third, I would say that Utah was the better team. Especially in that first period wherein they really set the tone for what Vancouver would have to deal with. Now, I'll give Vancouver credit. Rick Tocchet and his guys, they've been playing from behind a lot this season, and it might not sound right to say that they were playing from behind in a game that they had a 2-0 lead in, but Utah was dominating Vancouver in shots and, in turn, by scoring chances in the first period. Vancouver had one shot on goal for like 15 minutes of the opening frame, and they didn't get their second shot until a little bit after, and they finally finished things off in the first period with 4 total shots. Utah had 9 in the first period, but the Vancouver Canucks, honestly, it felt kind of lucky to me that they were out of the first period with a 0-0 tie game. This Utah team plays with a lot of pace, and they've got young guys in Cooley, Barrett Hayton, Guenther, even Clayton Keller, you could say, is relatively young. He's younger than Brock Besser, after all. There are a whole bunch of guys on this Utah team that are hungry, and the hockey club in Utah has definitely been a nice surprise for fans of the NHL looking for a story with the newest franchise in the league. But the second period is where the scoring gets underway. There were some power plays in there. First chance goes over to Utah. Erik Brannstrom goes off for holding against Logan Cooley. The Canucks are able to kill it off, they look pretty confident, and then Michael Kesselring goes off for interference on Connor Garland, and in the last second, seemingly second, it was like a few seconds there, of this power play, Vancouver gets a goal. It's Danton Heinen off of a brilliant rebound ricochet play off the boards from Quinn Hughes. They had been talking about this in the pregame and early on in the game, that today's Canucks optional skate practice was pretty well attended, because the theory was a lot of Canucks were going out there testing out the boards. Hey, we're trying to see how these pucks react to these particular segments of the boards, because in Utah, they've been a bit bouncy compared to other arenas. So we saw a lot of Canucks go out there and try their hand at understanding the arena and the playing surface earlier today. And Quinn Hughes uses that to his advantage on the power play. He takes a long shot, it goes off the end boards, ricochets at a weird angle, and then it's Danton Heinen on the right side who has to twist and contort his body to get that rebound and shoot it on goal by Karel Vejmelka. He makes it 1-0, but that honestly is not even the most important story of the power play. The most important story that everybody was talking about on Twitter was the fact that the Elias Pettersson experiment from the last game against Colorado was flipped. The first unit on the power play in this game consisted of Besser, Garland, DeBrusk, Hughes, and JT Miller. No Elias Pettersson. The second unit featured Elias Pettersson. Quinn Hughes was still there. They're not rolling with Erik Brannstrom on the power play, which is, maybe a little bit misguided. I'm not really too sure, but Quinn Hughes double shifted on the power play this entire game. The second unit featured Elias Pettersson, Kiefer Sherwood. I think Suter was out there, and so was somebody else. Who was it? Danton Heinen? Yeah, that's who it was. He scored the goal, right. So Rick Tocchet kind of messing things around and moving pieces on this power play. Very interesting way to conduct your lines. Splitting up Miller and Petey and having Hughes on the entire way through. Very, very interesting. The Canucks, however, escape the first 2 periods with the 1-0 lead. There were still some other chances that were going back and forth. Utah had a few other really nice plays in front. Nick Schmaltz had a backhand rebound that was dangerous. You also had Utah coming back with some short-handed offense, too. I mean, the Canucks power play got themselves a goal to open things up, but they didn't look particularly great. They were honestly kind of lucky that Demko was able to make that stop. And in the third period, we started to see, hey, Thatcher Demko was making saves too. He was hanging in there. He was stopping pucks and doing his darndest best to keep it out. Demko played very, very well in today's game. And I know nobody would go out there and say it officially, but a lot of us were kind of thinking, especially in that third period, when Dakota Joshua made it 2-0, and when Thatcher Demko was continuously making save after save after save in the third before the Utah Hockey Club eventually tied it up, we were kind of thinking, okay, is there a shutout incoming? Dave Tomlinson jinxed the shutout last game against Colorado, but now Demko's playing out of his mind. He's playing very well. Let's get over to the Dakota Joshua goal before we dive into some of the Utah stuff. So Joshua finds himself on a breakaway, and it's a brilliant backhand no-look spinorama pass from Teddy Blueger in his own zone, who throws it all the way up the ice. It's picked up by Joshua, who's got Nick Schmaltz as the guy on his back. Joshua picks the puck up, gallops into the zone. He kind of waves his stick on top of the puck a little bit, faking a deke, and then Karel Vejmelka bites really hard. Joshua then plants his stick back onto the ice, dekes it to the forehand, and easily gets it through. Beautiful goal by Joshua, set up by Blueger and Quinn Hughes to make it 2-0 Vancouver. Quinn Hughes has yet another multi-assist game this season. The Utah Hockey Club, however, strike next, and this is a very unlucky play for one Thatcher Demko, who is trying his best to make sure that Utah is not able to get on board with any sort of goal support, but it is a 2-on-2 rush that Utah makes up. A really nice backdoor kind of drop pass from Keller over to Schmaltz, who comes in with the shot, and Keller comes streaking into the crease. Demko has the puck. He made the saves. He thinks he can grab it in front. But as John Shorthouse said, Demko had it, lost it, and it's Keller who picks it up and easily drags it around Thatcher Demko, making it 2-1. With 11 minutes to go, the Utah Hockey Club are down only 1 goal. You then had yourselves Tyler Myers taking a cross-checking penalty, which was a very questionable one at that. Very disputable, especially for the Vancouver Canucks coaching staff. And you have Dylan Guenther score immediately after. It's a very bad play. He gets the puck, he takes a shot, it goes off at Teddy Blueger, and it bounces wildly into the opposite corner and in by Demko. Just the kind of fluke freaking play that you don't want to see, but it's one that Vancouver ultimately gave to Utah with the penalty itself and then with the coverage on the PK. So Dylan Guenther makes it 2-2. We go over to overtime, and then these teams just start trading chances back and forth. Man, I can't even go out there and describe the chances and the momentum and what these teams were doing to each other in this overtime period. You had so many chances. JT Miller throwing it out in front for Connor Garland, that's the big one. Quinn Hughes with multiple shot attempts. You had Utah coming in trying to make their own offense happen. Ultimately, the Canucks and the Hockey Club, they were both gassed by the end of it because both of these teams are just going back and forth. No super heavy possession-based puck-hogging kind of game going on here, folks. But eventually, after Connor Garland misses the backdoor tap-in from JT Miller, the puck comes back the other way. It is none other than Logan Cooley, and he is the guy who walks right in, throws it in front. Mikhail Sergachev is there, and that is all she wrote. It goes 5-hole, too. Very unfortunate bounce for Thatcher Demko, but hey, that's 3-on-3 overtime, baby. It was Carson Soucy caught back on the 2-on-1, and ultimately I'll say here that I think the better team won, but the Canucks did have some pretty good energy in this one too, especially on Logan Cooley. I noticed whether it was Miller or even Pettersson, the Canucks were hounding Cooley. They were taking this guy down, left, right, and center. Anytime he had the puck near one of these top Canuck guys, they would just do their best to pull him off, and it worked. Other than that, though, I think the Utah Hockey Club just took advantage of a Canucks team that was a little bit scattered in terms of what they were trying to build offensively. and they end up with the 3-2 win in OT, the comeback victory as a result. Thatcher Demko, unfortunately, in a game where some of us thought he could have had the shutout, ends up losing this one 3-2 in OT. Let me know your thoughts in the comment section below. I hope you enjoyed this video, and bye.